Once again, African Americans are having a knee jerk reaction to everything that's going on politically in this country. At least the African Americans I speak to. When it comes to the issue of what now, we've always had this sense of never being fully part of this country, besides the fact that we are Americans, foundational Black Americans. And about 3, 4 years ago, there was a real back to Africa movement, the year of return in Ghana. Many of my friends decided to look into it. I came across a video, or actually a channel that I'm going to promote here. Um, Mr. Or excuse me, Dr. Joseph Opere, and he's British-born Ghanaian. He is talking about what it's like for many people who try to transition into moving to Ghana, only to find some different problems. We're going to get into that right here, right now on the Ujamaa network. And I want you to subscribe to his channel. I'm going to put the link here in the description and on the screen. I literally do not even have to open my mouth. People see this Ujamaa, and the first thing they assume is that some pro-black militancy going on with me, right? And I have been just going about minding my business, walk to a store. Instead of asking about it, I get hit with political questions from white and black people who don't understand or want to know what it is, or this one slightly older than me because I'm 55 gentleman just walked up. He's on some talking points, some MAGA hat talking points. He assumed something about this symbol. He knew it meant something African, but he really didn't know. And he started hitting me with some, what do you think about this, that, and the third? I never engage in these political questions because it's always the same outcome. You know, the question I always get hit with in a discussion, if I even bother to engage myself with them, is, well, if you don't like it here so much, why don't you go back to where you came from? Well, homeboy, I am where I came from. That's number one. Number two, whether it's been through the diaspora that we got here or through the Mayflower, because I actually have ancestors on both. It's stolen land. Wherever we are is home. Now, should I choose to visit Ghana? Should I choose to explore other places to live after this particular year? Why not do some investigation? Which brings me to this channel. And I got so much information off of this, and I do have contacts on the ground in Ghana that I can reach out to. I had been planning on trying to make a move just to visit years ago, years before the return, as a kind of a psychological passage in my own mind to try to bring back that sense of freedom, because the reason we got here, we were sold into this country. My ancestors were sold into this country. I thought that being able to fly back, bring myself back under my own resources, and touch grass in any part of West Africa would lift that generational curse of what happened to my ancestors. That after all that's happened to them and where we've been since then, this would have been like a spiritual journey for me to cancel that, because we're not slaves. We never were bound to slavery. But it is a stigma that many of us don't talk about. We just don't. We have lost so much, but it would be kind of nice to gain that back. And that was the whole purpose and the reason behind the thought of just visiting. But after watching this video and the things that I've heard, I definitely am going to give it some pause. And I want you guys to follow along with me. This is going to be a long one because this is a greater discussion than what typically happens in America. I love the approach that the good doctor is putting out there. I don't want to butcher his name because it could be Opere, it could be Opare, but I want to make sure I give this man his credit, because this is what I've been promoting here on this channel. This is education and information before you jump out and do a thing. This is an example of that. And what he talks about in this video, and we're going to be reacting to different segments of it, he talks about three major things that you should know before you make that move, whether you're trying to move to Ghana or you are trying to just visit. You want to be careful of a lot of things. Now, regardless of the reasons or why we are having this discussion again, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We have seen our vote be almost homogenous against the current administration. And a lot of people are feeling frustrated, never defeated, but understanding that this is a thing that we thought was going to happen and it just keeps getting worse. Every day it's something else. And people are frustrated. People want a break. And we have this sentiment in this country where there is an active effort to get out all black and brown people, whether it's through immigration reform and ICE raids or whatever. What if you decided to take those threats up seriously and decided, maybe I need to look into this. This is what this channel is about, and this is what this discussion is about. Let's get into it.
So, as I said in the beginning, Ghana in 2025 has lost some diasporans who came in 2019 looking for greener pastures in this country. A lot of these, when they came to Ghana, got under that romantic impression after they had visited Cape Coast and saw the slave castle and all the other tours that they did, really fell in love with Ghana and so decided to move back to what a lot of Americans call the motherland. But all of this, although it was lovely to see, for me personally as a Ghanaian, and both as, I would say, raised as British, to me, there was a problem with this. I've met several different people from the US, from the UK, um, intending to move over here. And sometimes when I listen to the things that they say and also look at the things that they're doing, I realize that they don't have a clue. And even when you're trying to advise such people, a lot of the time they don't tend to listen to those of us that have more of a bridge between the two countries.
And that sums up precisely where I'm at right now. When I first heard of this was like, wow, eye opening. It was like an aha moment. And I really wanted to scrape up some coins and get ready to make that move. It'll be my first trip outside of the continental. I haven't even been to some of the islands around America. I've literally been to several different states, but never outside of the country for any period of time, with the exception of Canada. So no, I don't think he's off base with this, because I can see how people can get romanticized about the idea, especially in times like this. I haven't disclosed this a lot on this channel, but racism has a very profound impact on my personal life and then my family's life. We have had African American soldiers in this family throughout on one side of the family, fought in every war and come back from these wars to be called boy as grown men, or treated some kind of way. I myself lost a cousin to a policeman's bullet. Yeah, there was a settlement, and it was over just perceptions of who and what we are. The overtones, the racial overtones with that, um, senseless murder of my cousin was played out in the courtrooms, and it's always been building. I've had members of the Nation of Islam who are uncles of mine on both sides of my family, you know, although I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. It's one of those things that, from a spiritual standpoint, a religious standpoint, a racial standpoint, it's always been in the back of my mind. What if there was someplace we could go where the the romanticism comes in, um, where none of that takes place? That's what we think about. That's what we're going for. And to hear what this man says gives me a little bit of pause. You got to get the information. I'm gonna chop it up every now and again here, but we're gonna get to the 3 reasons he's talking about what we need to do if you are seriously taking um, taking this up as a task. He's gonna talk about these 3 things. So let's get into it.
So Ghana has been very attractive to a lot of diasporans who realize that this is a land of opportunity. However, we need to look at some critical issues because I feel like for a lot of those coming from abroad, there's some blind spots. There are 3 reasons and 3 problems that we need to tackle. Number one is employment opportunities and bad financial planning. Number two is the lack of understanding of the social and financial order of Ghana. And then number 3 big problem, and I believe is the biggest problem, is no trusted contacts in Ghana. Let's tackle these one by one.
Financial, economic, and social realities that are hitting you right in the face, and he's going to break them down into 3 categories. Without further ado, let's start chopping it up.
A lot of diasporans, when they're in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, they find it easier to get gainful employment. But when they come to Ghana, what they do is they try to live off savings, and then they find a rude awakening um, when they plan to use those savings, maybe to build a house, to set up a business. They tend to run out of money because they underestimate what things are like over here and the fluctuation of the city. The city will go up one day and then go down another day. And so, for instance, recently the city flipped. I'm just going to speak in terms of pounds, switched over from almost 21 cities to £1, and it's gone the other way now to approximately 14 cities to £1.
This is a currency exchange. Now, what you may have planned on in dollars to live off of, and we recently did a video on 5 countries that a lot of us are looking at or visiting: Nigeria, Ghana, Philippines, Thailand were the countries we were looking at, in Jamaica. And how much could you live off of, and for how long, on the average American salary? So when I looked at what they're actually talking about, and he talks about the average salary in Ghana, monthly salary, is like 800 CDs. And a good salary would be like 2,000 CDs. So when I looked that up in the current currency exchange, what that looked like kind of blew my mind. For $178 or from $78 to $180 per month is what they're living off of. And we're looking at that in terms of dollars. That's nearly nothing. We pay more than that for a telephone in this country. But that's a monthly salary, right? So we think, we're going over there and we're going to make this great come up off of maybe just a few $1,000s. And he's hitting you with some economic realities. Your calculations are going to be automatically off because these rates fluctuate. Then he gets on and talks about what actually happens as soon as you open your mouth as a foreigner. I mean, I wouldn't even have to open my mouth. I'm going over there in the skin that I'm in, and they're going to know that he ain't from here. And what happens when you step into somebody else's hood in America and they know you're not from there? Okay, well, if you're doing some kind of business, that's one thing. If you don't got those contacts on the ground, you may be looking like something to eat. And in America, that's usually met with violence. If you're dealing with any non-reputable situation, you're going to get the same treatment. But this is kind of institutionalized in Ghana, is what he's talking about. You're going to get got. The price is going to be different for foreigners than it is for locals. So don't get it twisted. Just because they're living off of $178 a month doesn't mean you will.
And so the lack of employment opportunities often cause people to get up and flee because they didn't plan properly when they got here. Ghana is a very business orientated place. And so if you're coming here as a diasporan, it's not really for you to come here to think that you're going to come and work for somebody. It's about you planning to build a business, um, taking advantage of the labor market over here.
We sometimes hyper focus on building generational wealth here, but when you have individuals who are taking savings and trying to live off of that in another country, being hit with the realities on the ground and thinking that you're just going to pop up and get a job and work for somebody there. No, what he's saying is that you need to have a business plan in your hands if you're trying to do this long term and create a business while there and take advantage of those labor opportunities that he's talking about. This is something that we promote here on this channel a great deal. And there are processes that you have to go through. And he gets into some of these processes when it talks about owning land there. There's tremendous process, but he's going to be talking about something that really gave me pause coming up in the next one, because everything around your transitioning to this country in particular is going to be about finances and the perception of you being a foreigner and going there and seeing what the difference is between somebody who lives there and can take advantage of being a native versus somebody who is visiting and get taken advantage of.
The lack of understanding of the social and financial order of Ghana. I've had people come over here and they don't understand when you're in certain countries, whatever the country is, especially countries that are developing, and they speak a different language to you. When you go to places where they don't put the prices on the goods, those countries are normally places where people haggle for things. But if the price is written and it's fixed, you can't change the price. But in places where they haggle for things, as soon as you open your mouth with your accent, the price is normally going to go up, which kind of bridges my point number three, why you need people over here that you can trust to show you the ropes and maybe speak in your behalf to buy things. Because if you open your mouth and you say certain things, they know automatically you are not from Ghana or one of these countries. And so that lack of understanding. And then also, people like to hustle you. And so, as much as people are nice in Ghana, I've met a lot of people who are just not honest. Okay. Just not honest.
So essentially, what he's saying is just, look, man, don't get so enamored with the thought of being in Ghana as a foreigner, as a visitor, that you don't keep your head on a swivel. You can get got anywhere. We know this in America, but you're trying to go in with all these emotions of being finally somewhere in a place that is majority or all black. And that's just like something so attractive to a lot of African Americans, especially, and especially during times like this. So, with that set of blinders on, you may get tempted to believe that everything is going to be peaches and cream. It's not. People are hungry. And again, you're looking like something to eat. Now, is that an indictment on Ghana? Not by any stretch of imagination. You're going to get that anywhere you go, period. Especially still, and I don't know how much this is going to change with the current administration. People may not be looking at Americans the same way. I think the turmoil is causing a lot of internationals to rethink what it is to be an American. But that's another topic altogether. But as it relates to this discussion, you're going to find dishonest people everywhere. And was this the thing that gave me pause? Absolutely, because the whole purpose of me wanting to go there and gain that freedom, that independence, is that I want to be self-sustaining. I have to be self-sustaining. If I go over there and I have to have a proxy, somebody to hold my hand just so I don't get got, it defeats the purpose. It literally defeats the purpose. And it may not be something that I do as far as this visit for the length of time that I planned on visiting, like 3 to 6 months. But it's giving me a pause to really rethink the direction of it. What kind of reception are you going to get outside of the honeymoon phase, so to speak? I want to be able to touch grass and think about the possibilities of what could happen if we could just get our stuff together. Now, part of it is going to be a responsibility on us. We can't change human nature. Human nature is human nature, whether you're in America or in Ghana. If you see a way to make a profit, you are going to do it. And that does not change just because the person that is attempting to rob you is black or white. You just have to keep your head on a swivel and realize that it is a possibility. Along with that, don't be so in love with the idea that you leave yourself open for a financial attack of some sort. And we haven't even talked about infrastructure issues. That was another big topic that came up. We're used to certain things in America. Today, I didn't even have to leave out of my house. The groceries are delivered to my door within 10 or 20 minutes of me ordering it online. Um, they don't even ring your doorbell if you tell them not to ring your doorbell. You just walk to your door, get your stuff. Imagine having that kind of freedom to you don't even have to leave your home, your couch, and you have all the things that you need to sustain yourself within your dwelling. That's not the case in countries in developing nations. So I'm looking at this, and I want you again to make sure you're checking out this channel. And Dr. Joseph Opare, please continue to make your content. I'm going to continue to boost it here on my channel, and definitely want to see more discussions within African American communities here in the U.S. because I think individuals in the UK, they have a different take, and that take kind of revolves around the fact that African Americans are considered kind of clueless as to where we actually come from. And because we don't have that, hey, my parents were born in Ghana, so I'm British, but I'm Ghanaian. No, we are just American. We're African American, and like it or lump it, without any tribal identity, without any language, we are what we are. And a lot of people just don't understand that throughout the diaspora. You could talk to somebody from Jamaica or from Brazil, which has the highest um, ex-slave population of African descent in the Northern Hemisphere, but their struggles were the same, if not worse, than it was here in the U.S. But we just did something so different that it's been affecting us quite differently than you see in other countries. It's far worse in places like Venezuela, where the African American, or excuse me, the African descent population were decimated, just moved out, done away with. There are 30 million African Americans here, and we all tried to move at the same time to a country that is currently populated around 30 million. That's what Ghana is. It's kind of mind-boggling to even think about that. But that perception that we are other is going to follow us. Before I wrap up this discussion, it is equally important for us Westerners not to think that once we get over there or go over there that we're something special. The whole purpose, in my opinion, is to show that we are the same and we want to be treated the same. If you're a good person in Ghana, I want to be treated as a good person in Ghana as well. And, just look, man. I want to have an experience where nobody's trying to get at me because we have that here. We always feel like we have a target on our backs in this country. And you may not understand that because, as a minority, and that word minority means we are not a significant portion of the population. African Americans make up about 13% of the United States population total. And if you don't understand what that means, just come over here and see what that means in terms of economic opportunities, education, standards of living. Come and understand the differences. When even though we're making decent amount of money, in comparison, um, things are just way too expensive, and a lot of people are barely hanging on, and a lot more people are, just succumbing to the economic realities of being an African American or of African descent in this country and what that means financially. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later.